Hello everyone. On behalf of International Road Federation, India chapter, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you in this 8th webinar. You may recall that Indian chapter of International Road Federation started a webinar series during the Road Safety Month this year in the month of January. The purpose of this webinar series is twofold. First, to disseminate the state-of-the-art knowledge on a broad subject like road safety, and the second is to formulate an action plan as a way forward for implementation in the country of some selected states. We have already identified 7 states in this manner, and we have already started the preliminary work based on some of the recommendations that we have obtained from the last 7 webinars. Now, we have planned total 12 webinars for the whole of this year, and today's webinar is 8th in the series, entitled Vehicle Engineering for Road Safety. Now, we all know that vehicle plays an important role. It is maintenance and the technology that we have for each of the vehicles have a very substantial role in terms of road safety that we have to deal with, other than road user and the road. In fact, 10, 15 years, 20 years back, very little was known about the interaction between the roads, pavement, and the tire and the pavement. Tire is a part of the vehicle anyway, so we didn't have much of the studies done during this past years. Now I am very happy to let you all know that the session will be moderated by Mr. Anil Kumar Chigulapalli, co-chairman, Siam International Harmonization Group and GM Tata Motors Limited. Welcome, Mr. Anil Kumar, for this webinar. Now, further, we have 4 speakers for today. However, unfortunately, I think Mr. Amit Mehta, Joint Secretary, Department of Heavy Industry, Government of India, who was to be the guest speaker for today, however, due to some unexpected emergency, he will not be able to make it. Now, we have Dr. Reji Mathai, Director ARAI, very renowned institute on the vehicles affair and vehicles technology in Pune. Mr. Gaurav Gandhi, sorry, Mr. Gaurav, we wrote Mr. Gaurav Gupta earlier, so please, my apology for this error. Mr. Gaurav Gandhi is the GM CSR, Maruti Suzuki India Limited. We need not elaborate about the Maruti's contribution in our transport system, especially in India. And finally, we have Mr. Graham Williams, who will be joining in an hour or so. He is the Managing Director, GBMOT Training Limited, United Kingdom. And they all will be introduced, of course, formally by our moderator during the technical session. Now, finally, I wish to place on record our deep appreciation to all the speakers to be able to find out their valuable times for this important, webinar series, and particularly for today's webinar, 8th in the series, and the moderator and all the participants for joining the webinar and enlightening us on the subject on road safety. Now, the next item was to have a address from Mr. Kapila, but unfortunately he is not keeping up well, and so he will be missing this webinar today. We all wish him a speedy recovery. So next item to his address was to have the present some messages that we have received. The first message in the series was from Jim Todd, President FIA, and he is the special envoy to the United Nations Secretary General on road safety matters. So can we have the message of Jean Todt, please?
Honorable Minister Nitin Gadkari, my dear Kiran Kapila, ladies and gentlemen, achieving safe mobility and transport systems is one of the most pressing social, economic, health and development challenges of our time. In countries where motorization is rapidly growing, like in India, some of the busiest roads are 20 times more dangerous than similar European ones. This is an enormous gap that we need to close urgently. There is added momentum for us to address this scourge. We embark on a new United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety, and we must all recommit to deliver on our 2030 targets. This aims to halve the number of road deaths and injuries, the SDG 3.6, and to provide access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport system for all by 2030, SDG 11.2. And with the progress made in the last decade and the tools we have gathered, we are equipped to make the difference. We have the UN Road Safety Conventions, a UN Road Safety Fund, global voluntary performance targets, and a global plan of action underway. I thank the International Road Federation for playing its significant part in this global effort. I commend your work in supporting stakeholders to improve roads, which ultimately benefit local communities, including children, who are, as we all know, among the most vulnerable. I wish you a productive webinar and look forward to a fruitful journey, rewarded by lives saved on the road, and you can count on me. Thank you.
Very well said by John Todt. And now we have the second message that we have received from Mr. Bill Halkias, who is the president of International Road Federation Geneva in Switzerland. So this is the message that we like to have delivered to all of us. Our IT team will arrange. Yes, thank you.
Honorable Minister of Road Transport and Highways and MSMEs, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, esteemed dignitaries, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the International Road Federation, a very warm welcome to all. I thank each and every one of you for joining us today in these very difficult and complicated times. The COVID-19 pandemic is having extensive ramifications to the entire planet. But apart from the COVID-19 pandemic, there is another pandemic that has been claiming lives and affecting healthcare, business and jobs for years, the road traffic accident pandemic. According to the World Health Organization, road traffic accidents were responsible for an estimated 1,350,000 deaths worldwide in 2016, out of which 150,000 or 11% in India alone. Neither death toll is acceptable. What is worse is that road traffic crashes are completely preventable, and there is a lot that can be done to ensure that they are reduced globally. No government, no citizen, none of us should have to compromise on the safety of his family. Our collective task should be to create a truly safe, sustainable, and efficient multimodal transportation system. To finally defeat the road traffic accident pandemic, we need to work in true partnership, public and private, industry and civil society, and we need to create the conditions to do so. Last but not least, we should not forget about our human capital. We must invest in capacity building. We can adequately respond to challenges only if we have skilled personnel. On behalf of the International Road Federation, I would like to invite each and every one of you to engage with the IRF to shape a better road and transport sector and a better future for all. I would like to praise and thank India, its government and its institutions for their bold initiatives in promoting road traffic safety. And I will say to the Honourable Minister, to the President of the India chapter of IRF, Dr. Gangopatiya, and to my good friend President Emeritus of IRF Geneva, Mr. Kiran Kapila. Keep up the good work. And to all of you in India and elsewhere, please follow their example. We are all united for road safety, because united we rise and united we deliver. Thank you all. Honorable Minister of Road Transport.
Sir, you are muted, sir.
Is it okay now? Okay, I think we have finished this completion of the some sort of a opening sort of ceremony or whatever you can call him, but call it. So we now move to this. We move to the technical session now. Mr. Ghosh, is it all right? I think next item we move it to the technical session, isn't it?
Yeah, we can.
Yes. So before we do that, it is my extreme privilege to introduce formally our moderator for today's session, Mr. Anil Kumar C. Mr. Anil Kumar is currently the Senior General Manager in Tata Motors and heads the PV body and trim engineering. Before this role, he was head of Vehicle Performance Group that included crash safety, NVH, and climate control attributes, along with CAE functions for durability, dynamics, and CFD. He is currently the convener of the AIC Crash Safety Standards Panel, chairman of IGR SP, and also co-chair of SIAM IHG. He joined Tata Motors in 1994 as PGET after completing his master's in mechanical engineering in Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and he is a BTech in mechanical engineering from IIT Bombay. So with such knowledge behind Mr. Anil Kumar, I think we had the perfect setting for today's deliberations, which will be taken up. And I now request Mr. Anil Kumar that floor is yours. Kindly conduct the technical session. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gangopadhyay, and in fact, thanks to IRF for arranging this seminar. And also I see there has been a series of seminar, a total of 12 of them being arranged on the subject of road safety. Friends, we have started working on road safety in India, quite some time back when passenger cars had started becoming popular. This is a very complex subject. Like we have heard, it involves infrastructure, it involves vehicles, it involves users, and solutions have to be found involving multiple stakeholders. And we have to do many things, including capability building, like we just heard, okay, versus and to right up to following the rules and regulations that have been set. Having said that, that it's a very complex subject does not mean we don't work on it. I think many stakeholders or all the relevant stakeholders in India are now very much focused on improving road safety. One of the critical elements about road safety, of course, is vehicle safety technologies and how vehicles perform in terms of avoiding accidents as well as protecting occupants in case there is a crash. So I'm happy to moderate this session, and this is a subject very close to my heart, having spent more than 25 years in this field. I'm happy to note, really good qualified speakers who are going to make presentations. And I also see the 3 topics that have been chosen are very apt. It starts off with vehicle technologies and regulations. Then we have comprehensive view of vehicular safety, including what happens to them once they are on the road. In terms of retrofitments or things of that sort. And all of us use these cars or vehicles for a long time. It's not 1 or 2 years. Usually it is 15 years or so. And so keeping them in good health is very important in order to ensure poor maintenance does not lead to safety concerns. And so we have the 3rd topic, which is on inspection and certification to ensure roadworthiness of in-use vehicles. So this sort of gives you what is possible in terms of technologies. What are we going to drive in India through safety regulations? Look a small peep into what happens once they're on the road, and how do we take a comprehensive view on that, and how do you maintain the health of these vehicles through their life cycle. So these 3 topics sort of give you a view of the complete life cycle and how vehicle technologies help or are critical for road safety. Unfortunately, we do not have the guest speaker, so it's my privilege to actually introduce authors and request them to start off the presentations. We have about 20 minutes for each presentation, but since we don't have the guest speaker, I guess each of the speakers could probably take 2 or 3 minutes extra. This being a complex topic, I'm sure any time is really not sufficient to complete.
Yeah, 25 minutes will be all right. 25 minutes, no problem.
It could be up to 25 minutes. This being a complex subject, I'm sure the authors will be able to make a better point if they get more time. And then we have question and answers post all the 3 presentations. Let me now introduce you the first speaker, Dr. Reggie Mathai. He's director of ARAI Pune. He has vast experience of more than 28 years in the field of engine and vehicle testing, emission studies and ambient air quality. He's done his BTech in mechanical engineering from SGS ITS Indore and MTech from IIT BHU and PhD from IIT Delhi. He's the chairman of AIIC, which is All India Automotive Industry Standards Committee, responsible for preparation and approval of automotive standards. He's been a part of Auto Fuel Vision and Policy 2025 committee for drafting the policy. All of you, I'm sure, are aware of the big leaps we have done in terms of fuel quality and emission standards in our country. He's a member of various committees of government and other bodies like BIS and CPCB, etc., where he articulates views of mobility concerns in these forums to facilitate future roadmap. He has published more than 50 papers in national and international forums. He has 2 patents to his credit, and he's a life member of TSI, GB member of SAE Western India section, and secretary of CIMAC India. So, Dr. Reggie Mathai, we are really pleased to have you as a speaker to talk about vehicle technologies and regulation roadmap. I have been personally interacting with him, with you, sir, as part of the AISC, and I'm aware of the big effort ARAI, the auto industry together put into bring in various safety technologies through regulations. So, really pleased to welcome you for this presentation, and over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Anil. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you, Team IRF, for this platform for exchanging one of the key areas, particularly pertaining to safety and regulatory aspects. Let me try sharing my screen and see that if I can. Okay. So I hope the screen is visible now, and let me put it on full screen. Yes.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So let me just take you through the topic that has been assigned to me as quickly as possible, and then later on we can deliberate on few of the queries. So as introduced by Mr. Anil and from the introductory speakers, the factors affecting the safety is really a complex one. We are covered with various aspects, and we need to address them through varied areas. And I believe some of them I have just listed below, and some of them I will be speaking on. So it starts by aligning ourselves globally, because that is how we have been doing, and that roadmap gives us some direction on how to move ahead. Mr. Anil was also mentioning that we need the road infrastructure and traffic conditions. The road infrastructure plays a crucial role. So many of our regulations we can see has to wait a bit to be enforced. Government policies play a key role. Technology and its affordability is again an important aspect. Testing infrastructure, yes, for the certifying and also for the in-house development. The National Accident Database, consumer awareness and education, a critical one, because we all know that recently the importance given to the corona-related deaths and its impact, what care we had to take. The values of deaths in the previous wave were something like 150,000 odd in a year. But the impact or what stress was given, we all know how much more it was given. But if you look into the accident-related deaths on our portal, that is almost matching that value. So we can understand the importance to be given to safety-related aspects and the awareness needed for this. So let me take you through this progress of the safety regulation, because as mentioned, this is one of the key way it has evolved in the past. But as we look back, it may seem like, wow, we have to think about those also. So from the very active safety areas like the brakes, the thing and the telltales control, means whatever the control panel need to display on, we have come a long way now. Year by year on, if you look in the 5-year basis, we had a chunk of safety regulations put into place. And this has not been just sometimes coming through a stroke of regulation sort of a thing, but detailed deliberations in the back end in many cases have been taken place and are taking place with the stakeholders, as rightly Mr. Anil also mentioned it in the beginning. He is also the chair of one of the panels. So these deliberations, after detailed discussions with the stakeholders, availability of testing facilities, all that's put into place, we bring into these regulations into action. So if you see now, currently we are looking into various new areas, particularly the EVs coming into it. The accident related, the crash related for the EVs also play a key role. The electromagnetic compatibility and its interference are again an area of interest, means a lot of work is being done in that area. Coming ahead, I will be speaking on that, is what the Europe has been doing and what more we have to do. So if we look into the global standard harmonization, out of the odd 136 odd, we have already aligned with 114 of them. So this is something great move by India, means we are quite comparable with the global movement that is happening. And we are just awaiting for the infrastructure related area, and some areas again we are adopting wherever we can, where the infrastructure interference is less. So we actively participate in the WP29, that is the UNEC World Forum for Harmonization and Regulations, which has got almost 6 areas. Out of that, the safety areas is one of the area that deals into the safety aspects. So currently, if we look into it, the future areas that are being now discussed are the LDWS, that's the lane departure warning system, the advanced emergency braking system, accident emergency call system, and the advanced driver assistance system. And there are a few others along with it that are being discussed as of now. So when we look into the aligning part, India has sometimes gone ahead of, means added some additional regulatory requirement also, because of our practices and the need to stress upon what more we need to do. So there are alarms that comes up, like the airbag, is mandatory. The driver and co-seat belt mandatory. These are additional things that has come on. Manual override for the central locking. So these are not in any of these European regulation. Rear park assistance system. And in some of the things, we are totally aligned, like the crash standards and the pedestrian safety. So this is how we have been evolving. And actually, my next speaker will be speaking on what it has got the implication on the actual road conditions when it comes into play. ARI has been playing a very crucial role in this developmental work. Means, okay, as a test agency, it is very easy for us to carry out a test and provide a certificate. Okay, this is pass or fail. But we have been now being a partner in the development process itself. So this is very critical. We have felt that the learnings that we had can be a source of information. And along with this, now, if there is some software simulations that we can bring in, which we are doing now as of now, that can reduce the number of tests and can also provide much more information beyond what is needed in the regulatory requirement. So if you see our expertise, like we have almost completed 700 tests, there are 2000 plus sled tests or the belt related. So the safety domain expertise is very quite high in ARI. And this we have been evolving and developing in a continuous manner. We are thinking of new facilities to be set up, which can assist the manufacturers in a way that goes beyond the normal testing. So this is in the new days, you will be hearing much about it, that the facilities that we will be creating on at NHAI. Coming to the buses and all, again, this was more, the cars are predominantly what has been aligned in the safety aspect in a much more way than the other regimes of buses and two-wheelers. In the buses and all, if you can see, most of these regulations, if you see, are mentioned as 2019. Some are coming up in the 2023 sort of a thing. So there are like interior noise, vibration, harshness, requirement for wheelchair and its accommodation, priority seat and space for passengers with reduced mobility, the emergency lighting system. So various aspects have come into play. One of the key things that is there is regarding the fire detection and safety and suppression system. So in the cabin, in the driver's place and all, this was in place, but for the occupant fire safety, this is still under notification. So this also has been discussed in the last AIC panel, and almost a consensus has come into place. We are putting into place the required documents, and this should be notified. So these trucks and trailers, this is another area that the various regulatory requirements have come into place. Especially, we have got the underrun protective devices. This is now going to come into a requirement and is being notified. So there will be a lot of action that will be placed for the trucks and trailers. Again, on the cabin and the windscreen wiping and various areas like that, the new regulatory requirements are put into place. So some of them have been implemented by October, in the last October, and certain things are notified and they implemented by April 2020 for these trucks and the trailers. Coming to the two-wheelers, which is very specific for India-related situation, because we know that the two-wheelers are so much high. So many of these regulations are being put into place by in a very prioritized manner, and the focus is much more on the two-wheelers. The number of accidents that cause deaths and all are quite high over here. So the ABS and CBS, this has been coming to play in through IS 14664. So in certain cases, you can see the IS numbers wherever the IS has been published. In other cases, the AIS standards still holds good. So in various cases like the stability requirement, durability, automatic retraction while vehicle moving, particularly for the stand, because this has been one area when the stand is on the where the vehicle can be leaned and put to rest, has caused a lot of accident. This has been put into as a safety standard that this should give an alarm sort of a thing, and this is to be taken care of. And the footrest and various other external projections that comes of the two-wheeler, as and when it hits or anything happens, it needs to be folded what are the contours of these projections. These are all defined so that the safety features are incorporated in the two-wheelers in a systematic manner nowadays. Coming to the electric vehicles, this has been a new area as such. With most of the construction safety being in place in the for both the categories of M and N and even for the L categories. The others are the normal regulatory requirements for the electric vehicles, like the range and range and electrical energy consumption and all. So these regulations for the electrical vehicles have been there now, especially for the crash. This poses certain concerns, how the battery is responding, what is happening after the crash, will it explode? So there are necessary precautions to be taken. We have now been well prepared for it and carrying out special tests for that under very good protective measures in place. So this is again for the electric vehicles, the safety regulations are made mandatory sort of thing. Now, what exactly are we doing in the new advanced technology areas? So as I mentioned, the world that looks into the case, that is the connected, autonomous, shared and electric vehicle, India's outlook slightly varies a bit because of its situation of high population, focus on the cost. So we look into see as something like connected and shared, okay, because the shared mobility has been a part of us since long. It is not something new where we know we can always share vehicles, and this has been happening in a sustainable manner. The solutions have to be affordable. This is very much needed for India and very cost sensitive market. Safer mobility, as I initially mentioned also, is a very critical aspect. The amount of death we figure out is quite high, and this is being a very focus for the Ministry of Road Transport also, where they have been making focused approach. IRF's efforts are also commendable in this regards. And lastly, the zero emission also, we also have the same environmental friendly aspects, but more focused onto the energy security aspect, because almost 80% of our fuel is still being imported. So how are we taking care of it? Where, as I mentioned earlier, almost 80%, when it mentions that 80% of the accidental deaths that are caused are due to driver errors as per the MORTS site. So what steps need to be taken is what we are now looking into the future. The adaptive driver assisted system that is required under various categories is one of the areas that is in focus in our work over here now. It has got different levels. We can now, without the infrastructure support and all, up to tier 3, we can easily think of, like the first inform, assist. Most of the assist part also we can think of. The control part yet has to wait for our necessary infrastructure development. How are we doing? What are the things in that? Like the 360-degree view, parking assist, drowsiness, driving monitor, adaptive cruise control, automotive emergency braking. So these are the focus areas that initially we can think of very easily. And we have been working in a very systematic manner on these cases. So as we look into that, there is a totally a different picture for India when we want to adopt it. We have got a very complex driving functions. Our scenarios are quite different and varied. The climatic conditions and weather conditions are different. We have got infrastructure constraints with huge population, and all the road infrastructure is also in not a good shape at many places. So as we go into the automation mode, we need to have this data. The driver behaviors are erratic, and then we have got diverse geological and environmental social conditions. With all this background, should we wait or should we move ahead? That is what the challenge comes. So the AI and machine learning becomes an important part of it, capturing the data and recording it and reproducing it for the Indian scenario. And in such cases, we can also think about how, like the parking and all, what steps can be done in these cases. So virtual and experiential verification and validation methods have to come into play. So this is one area where ARI is significantly doing its efforts. We have got significant amount of data that has been collected now as of now. So this is an Indian scenario data being collected. If you can see it goes on the road, it pictures each of them, because the data that is available for in the global place and the data that is to be used for us slightly differs for us. So we have to map each of the thing and get it corrected. Then only we can move ahead to put into algorithm and systems where the driver assist can come into play. So this is one area ARI is generating significant amount of data and carrying out its work. So in all these things, if you see, we have now the Indian database being generated. Now this has to be converted to digital domain. Then this has to be verified and validated with the driver in loop system. And lastly, the vehicle testing has to come into play. Now, one of the things that we have done is, like, after doing all these things, we have done certain simulation and put it into place. So the driver with its own, means the driverless car, we have maneuvered it and we have seen that how it responds to signals and how it responds to turnings and all those things. This activity we could carry out successfully in ARI, and we are ready with various other aspects, so that as and when partners or industry readiness comes in, or people want to carry out any related research work, we are ready to collaborate with them and carry out this work. This is one of the demonstrations we did in our place, and it could be successfully done with an unmanned vehicle. Okay, my last two slides. I just want to conclude by saying that innovation is one of the key aspects as we look ahead to adopt whatever regulations we need. So whether it is safety, whether it is that there is a regulations, but we need to also have a lot of technological part to be carried out along with it. So one platform that ministry has prompted us to take start is the Technovus. This is now a platform where we are collaborating with the startups or the MSMEs or the small players to bring varied solutions. It's not only related to safety, but any solution related to the automotive sector. So this platform, through this platform, now currently we have opened it up till 15th of September. So people who are interested can visit this site. And there are almost 11 challenges that have been put over there, which relates to automotive sector, flex fuel, various areas are there in that. Please go and register and have a look at it. And if you can have some ideas, solutions or anything, you can apply over there. It will be evaluated. We will be doing the funding and hand-holding for the same. Thank you. Thank you for this time. So let me just summarize. The global harmonization, if I look, it is almost, we are ready with it. The local road infrastructure, yes, there is much to be done. Government policies, quite good, means we are aligned, we are quite ahead also in many times. Technology availability and affordability in certain cases good, but there are times we need some of them, as I mentioned regarding ADAS and all, we have to generate a data in that case. Testing infrastructure, government has been quite good in setting up these facilities, and we also on ourselves have been updating so that we have the latest infrastructure for evaluations. The national database, this is an area where still work is in progress. Consumer awareness and education, significant work is to be done, and I should commend agents, platforms like IRF taking up such activity like the webinars. And ecosystem for stakeholders for advancement, again, some work is to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mathai. It was a comprehensive presentation that covered all the topics that drive regulations and technology development in automotive sector. We will take the questions at the end of the session. So let me move on to the next topic, which is comprehensive view on vehicular safety, including retrofitments. I hope we'll see a glimpse of what happens to vehicles once they all reach customers' hands. We have Mr. Gaurav Gandhi, General Manager in Maruti Suzuki Limited, who is the speaker. Mr. Gaurav Gandhi is a mechanical engineer and has worked through various functions of auto industry for the last 23 years. Currently, he is responsible for corporate social responsibility function of Maruti Suzuki and is actively involved in executing and managing various CSR project initiatives taken by Maruti Suzuki in the areas of road safety, skill development, and community development. Welcome, Mr. Gandhi. It's my pleasure to introduce you, and actually we look forward to your presentation. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Anil.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah. So, namaskar and a very good evening to all. In the next few minutes, I'll take you through presentation on comprehensive view on vehicle safety. If we see, India has only 1% of total world's vehicle population, but we contribute to 11% of road accident fatalities worldwide. This is indeed an alarming situation for us. When we see the overall sales of vehicles in India, we find that two-wheeler constitutes around 83% of the sales, followed by passenger vehicle, which is 13%, and commercial vehicles, which is 4%. However, when we see worldwide data, which is on the right-hand side of the presentation, then we see that passenger vehicle segment is major contributor of sales worldwide, ranging from 50% in China to 87% in Germany. Looking into the road accident fatalities scenario in India, two-wheeler users are involved in 37% of the fatalities, 17% are pedestrians, 16% are passenger vehicle users, and balance 30% are commercial vehicles and other users. So at the same time, India has the highest road accident fatalities per 100,000 in the world, totaling to 22.6 fatalities per 100,000, which is basically 5 times when we compare it with the European nations. When we look at the causes of these fatalities in road accidents, then driver fault turns out to be the single largest contributor, which is responsible for 80% of the fatalities. Pedestrian fault contributes 5%, road defects 4%, vehicle defects 2%, and other causes contribute 9%. So on the left-hand slide, we can see few illustrations of major behavioral issues of drivers which cause road accidents and fatalities. Now, when we come to comprehensive vehicular safety, it is very important that we take a holistic view of all the aspects of vehicle and road safety. Basically, for ensuring a safe travel in vehicles, we have to understand and work on the 5E concept, which is basically engineering of vehicles, engineering of roads, education and training of drivers, ensuring enforcement of traffic rules, having a robust emergency response system. So now we will go through the first E, which is vehicle engineering. In India, with the support and guidance of government, Indian auto industry has been implementing world-class safety features in our cars over the years. This slide gives an overview of the safety features implemented across Maruti Suzuki vehicles, which include both regulatory and voluntary safety features. Maruti Suzuki's approach has always been to make safe cars. For that, we always focus on optimizing the view to ensure that it is easy to see and driver has a wider view. A comfortable driving position is a must for ensuring lesser driver fatigue. We also ensure that all the controls at the dashboard should be within easy reach and convenient while driving. We also ensure that safety features required to protect the occupants in the event of the crash are definitely available in the car. Suzuki Heartect platform is a step forward in making our cars safer. It is the 5th generation platform which is built on ultra and high tensile steel. It has compulse zones to reduce impact on occupants and intelligently designed passenger cell to keep occupants safe in the event of an accident. Further, continuous frame is there, basically resulting in increased body stiffness. for better handling, stability, and an improved fuel efficiency. Driver airbag regulation was to be implemented from July 19, and Maruti Suzuki took a proactive approach in implementing the same by March 19. So similar proactive approach was adopted for ABS, seat belt reminder for driver and co-driver, overspeed limit warning, reverse parking assist. With these various vehicle safety measures, now the cars that are made in India are a lot safer than what they used to be 10 years ago. An example of entry-level car Alto is illustrated over here. So we can see, I mean, in 2010, these features were not there, but 2020 Alto has all the safety features. Similarly, the mid-segment vehicle Swift is also made much more safer. This is just to give an idea. So to conclude, with all these safety features built in our Indian cars, we are now at par with our European counterparts. Further, Indian auto industry has always adopted proactive approach in implementing the safety features in its cars, and we will definitely continue to do the same in future as well. Now let's look into the second aspect of comprehensive vehicular safety, which is engineering of roads. Under the leadership of Honorable Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, a remarkable work is happening in upgrading the road infrastructure in India. Latest technology and engineering has been deployed in designing safer roads and for speeding up road construction. As a result, India is now setting new records for the fastest road construction. This will definitely ensure that we have more roads in India which are much more safer and more motorable. I would also like to highlight the measures taken by NHAI for strengthening the road infrastructure and road safety through technology. Modern survey techniques, artificial intelligence based monitoring, monitoring of roads through drones, satellites for real-time information, using SAP modules for road construction project monitoring, black spot identification and correction, etc. have been contributing immensely to improve the speed of road construction and have made our roads much more safer for travel. Major focus right now is in the Bharatmala Prayojana, which is going to be a milestone in road development journey of India. This program focuses on optimizing the freight and passenger movement across the country. Under this program, 34,800 kilometers of road is being constructed, and this would be connecting around 600 districts. This is also an example how our government is improving on engineering and construction of roads. Over the last 5 years, there has been 70% increase in road length construction and almost 50% increase in land acquisition for construction of roads. Continuing at this pace, we hope that we will get widespread network of roads in India in the years to come. If we see the road quality score, then we find that India has improved from 3.79 to 4.5 in the last 5 years, which is an improvement of 19%. It's a good improvement. However, when we see the global data on the right hand side, then we find that even with this improved score of 4.5 in India, we are at 46th position in terms of road quality ranking. We are still way behind other nations who are having an average ranking of 6. Therefore, there is a lot of work which needs to be done in years to come to further improve the quality of roads in India. Now coming to the third E, which in comprehensive vehicular safety, this is basically education. Now, education is the most important aspect in improving overall safety. As we had seen in initial slides that 80% of the fatalities are happening due to driver faults. According to a survey in India, only 25% drivers wear seat belts, which if compared to other nations is alarmingly low. WHO safety manual clearly states that seatbelt can reduce the fatality risk by almost 45 to 60%. This also indicates that there is a need of educating and training drivers in India to ensure that, at least with that training and, education, it will be ensured that they are using all the safety features which are available in the vehicle. Honorable Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, had mentioned once that if is in the world where you can get a license easily, it is here in India. In this context, he also mentioned that 30% of the driving license in India are fake. Therefore, there is a need for proper driver training and a robust driving test and driving license issuance system in the country. Maruti Suzuki has taken up driver training and road safety education as one of the key focus areas under its CSR initiative. Over the past 2 decades, Maruti Suzuki has been imparting driver training and road safety education through 3 models. First is Institute of Driving and Traffic Research, Maruti Suzuki Driving School, and Road Safety Knowledge Centers. In order to provide quality driving training and education, we have set up 7 IDTRs in partnership with 5 state governments, 492 Maruti Suzuki driving schools through our dealer network across the country, and 23 road safety knowledge centers for imparting prerequisite basic knowledge about the driving and road safety to learner license aspirants and traffic violators. IDTR is basically a public-private partnership between state government and Maruti Suzuki, which was set up to promote road safety and safe driving through quality education and training. We have well-trained instructors, smart classrooms, driving simulators, well-defined curriculum, and in addition to that, sessions on gender sensitization and yoga as well. So this is basically to ensure that we cover all aspects of imparting the right education, improving their skills and attitude of the drivers. This is an overall glimpse of the network that we have all across India. In IDTR, we have state-of-art scientifically designed tracks with different kinds of formations, basically to ensure that we impart the right kind of driver training to the drivers. So here it's an illustration of what kind of different kind of formations that we have. We also have all the required LMV and HMV vehicles for practical training, car and truck based simulators you can see in the middle, and state-of-art laboratory to explain important components of vehicles to the trainees. Road Safety Knowledge Center are established along with Transport Department and Traffic Police to train and test new license seekers and traffic violators. We have state-of-art infrastructure for these RSKCs, and there are 23 such RSKCs across India, giving these 4 kind of trainings. Till now, we have trained around 18 lakh people through RSKCs. These RSKCs are equipped with multimedia enabled classrooms with latest technology for imparting training and taking tests on new license seekers and traffic violators. AI based monitoring technology has been used to ensure objectivity of test and for better transparency and fairness. Maruti Suzuki Driving Schools is the third model that we have adopted for imparting driving training and through our dealerships. We have 485 MSDS outlets across 233 cities. Here also we use simulators, AC cars and classrooms, and we focus on comprehensive theory and practical sessions which are given by qualified and well-trained instructors. Maruti Suzuki also spreads awareness through campaigns like Pehnikya, which is basically focused on promoting the usage of seat belts. As a result of this campaign, the seat belt usage rate has increased by 8%. Now in 2018, there was a data which was published that 25,000 people died due to not wearing seat belts. Considering this 8% improvement in seat belt wearing adherence, we have actually saved around 2,000 lives. Now coming to enforcement, basically, which is the third E. The benefit of any traffic law is only when it is properly enforced on ground. As per Global Status Report on Road Safety by WHO, India's rating for enforcement of laws need to be strengthened. Most of the countries which are rated are more than 8, were basically they were enforcing laws on automatic mode using technology. So here also the data shows that, I mean, in each of these 4 areas which are mentioned over here, we are actually very low in enforcement. Maruti Suzuki has contributed in this area through our CSR initiative as well. I will briefly share with you what all we are doing in this area in subsequent slides. So basically we have initiated 2 projects for enforcing traffic rules. First is Automated Driving Test Track, which is ADTT project, which is to strengthen the driver license issuing system. This we had started in partnership with Transport Department, and right now we have 12 ADTTs in Delhi. So far, 2 lakh driving licenses have been issued through this automated system. The second project is to strengthen the key traffic rules. Here also traffic police, along with traffic police, we have installed this project at 13 junctions in Delhi, and so far 3 million challans have been issued through it. So now coming to ADTT, the basic objective of ADTT is to make driving license process automatic, efficient and transparent. Encouraging driving training before applying for driving license is another motive, and to reduce road accidents due to poor driving skills. All these ADTTs have high resolution cameras and sensors that had been installed on specially designed tracks to conduct the automated driving test. The ADTTs are scientifically designed to evaluate all aspects of driving skills through various track formations. These are fully automated tracks with no human intervention at all. Once a vehicle enters the test track, the movement of the vehicle is tracked through videos, sensors and software-based technology. Biometric tools are used for issuance of driving license to ensure transparency and authenticity. So we have 12 such ADTTs across in Delhi, and this is a glimpse of the locations. Traffic Safety Management System is our second initiative to improve compliance of road safety rules by ensuring enforcement using automated technology. For that, we have installed cameras and radars across 13 junctions in Delhi with live feed to control room and command center set up at Traffic Police Headquarters, Todapur. So this is a glimpse of the 13 junctions that we have installed this TSMS system. This is basically an automated red light violation detection system which works on capturing the number plate of the violators, and then each challans are issued by traffic police. The speed violation detection system works similar to the red light violation detection system. A control room was set up with traffic police headquarters at Todapur, Delhi. The traffic police can access the violations details through the dashboards, and they verify the violations before issuing each challans. On the left side, we can see the spread of violations captured by TSMS system. This TSMS system operates only in 13 out of 1000 junctions in Delhi. Yet, when we see the number of challans issued per junction per month, then we find that the challans issued at TSMS enabled junctions are much more than manually controlled junctions. So here, if you see, the number of challans that we have issued through this 1% junction is around 13,077 challans per junction per month. And for non-TSMS junctions, which are manually operated, 631 challans have been issued per junction per month. So this is how automation actually improves enforcement. We can definitely use more automated technology to ensure better enforcement across the country. Now the last T, which is basically comprehensive view on vehicular safety, is basically emergency response. In 2016, US saw 5 times more road accidents than in India, but fatality percentage from accidents in India was around 30%, as against in US it was only 2%. Japan and India had same number of accidents, which was around 5 lakh, but in India around 1.5 lakh died because of these accidents. However, in Japan only 5,000 victims died. So this shows the importance of proper emergency response system in the country. In 4 years, Tamil Nadu reduced the road accidents by around 54%. Number of deaths came down from 17,000 in 2016 to 7,000 in 2020. This was achieved by implementing trauma registrations in hospital and for systematic data analysis, setup of Center of Excellence in Trauma Care, first responder training, dedicated call lines to improve response time, dynamic positioning of ambulance, establishing emergency care centers and accident relief centers at high crash prone areas. So, if one state in India can do this, why can't we horizontally deploy this learning all across India? We as a nation need to create a framework of emergency response system in India. The basic key elements of the proposed framework would be that we need to have a crash data collection and research system to front feed the learnings from accidents to make our roads more safer. Then we need to have a robust police and legal system to support victims in case of a crash, with the focus on the concept of duty to assist, basically. The third element is that during an event of an accident or collision, we need to have a proper support system at the crash site. We need to have systems to provide proper injury care and mental health rehabilitation programs post the accident. As we have seen, efforts in improving the emergency response can save a lot of lives. Therefore, I think it is in times to come, we must have to seriously work on this aspect of building a robust emergency response framework in our country. Emergency care during the golden hour is the core of any post-crash response. To improve on this aspect, there is a need to quickly transport the victim from the crash site to the hospital. Few countries have deployed two-wheeler ambulance concept in their urban cities to ensure that short distance quick transportation in congested areas can happen. We can also develop similar kind of concepts in our cities. We also need to expand the air ambulance service for long distance emergency travel in India. To improve the emergency response, Maruti Suzuki has donated customized ambulances to Haryana government as well. With this, I come to the end of my presentation. To sum it up once again, I would like to reinforce that comprehensive view on vehicular safety. We need to have focus on all the 5 V's. A lot of good work has been done in engineering of vehicles and roads. However, there are miles to go for ensuring improvement in education, enforcement, and emergency response. Thank you once again. Thank you all for your patient hearing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gaurav Gandhi. That was a comprehensive, view of all the elements that go into actually finding a solution for the safety problem, road safety problem. Clearly, we all play a big role in most of these, as road users and of course, vehicle technology suppliers. But I think what is important is the auto industry, instead of just focusing on just vehicle technologies, is also contributing in actually the other E's. And I see IRF seminars, the 12 seminars that are being planned actually cover most of these topics across. So thank you for that. And I think it is time for our third presenter, Dr. Gangopadhyay. I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I think Mr. Ghosh, is it possible for us to contact him or? Pardon?
He's not joined as yet.
Is it possible to make a call or whatever? Or otherwise, can we, the permission of the moderator, we can have some question answer session for these two.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions from the audience for these two presentations, these two themselves have been a very comprehensive presentation. So if there are any questions, we could then request the authors.
If you click on Q&A, the question mark, you'll find the mute. Mute, yeah, it's echoing. The question is good. One question is, are all new motorcycles fitted with ABC or CBS, or there is plans for the same? By Subhash Dungel.
Yeah, Dr. Mathai, I think this question is for you.
Yeah, I think the regulations are still coming through. There are many of them. In the most cases it is there, but still there is in few cases I think it is yet to be implemented to a certain level. I think I will have to look into it. In certain levels, I think it is still it is yet to be fitted with. In certain level, up to some limits, it has already been told that it has been done. But for the others, the regulations are still to be come into place for that.
Yeah, thank you. So I see the second question is, probably Mr. Gandhi, you can take this. When the highways are designed for a speed of 100 to 120 kmph, the speedometers usually have a range of up to 220 kmph. Don't you think this will tempt the drivers for overspeeding?
No, actually, for this we have overspeed alarms also installed. Like whenever you cross 80 kilometers, there is a beep, and whenever you cross 120 kilometers, there is a continuous beep in vehicle. So I think this aspect has been taken care by this kind of alarm system that we have fitted in the vehicles. I think this answers the question, right?
Yeah. But point is, it's the users who have to make sure they actually follow the rules. And please remember, another reason we do give up to 220 is from an ergonomics point of view, that your maximum speed, you're always you don't use the full range of the needle, because that's ergonomically more discomforting actually. Yeah, next question to Mr. Gaurav Gandhi. I think, does Maruti Suzuki plan to expand the ADTT to more locations in India? Is Government of India encouraging more use of automated driving testing?
Of course, I mean, we are in constant touch with the government, and whenever there is a direction or request from the government to expand the ADTTs, definitely we will be happy to do that. Yeah.
Thank you. Then we have a question from Mr. Sumit is, sir, like Mahindra XUV 700 is offering ADAS, so why other companies are not offering it? So, Mr. Gandhi, do you want to look at this?
Basically, see, I mean, XUV 700 is a premium segment SUV, and definitely, I mean, in that segment, the kind of features they offer should be at par with the high-end vehicles. So if this kind of things becomes a regulation, then definitely it will be implemented. Otherwise, it will unnecessarily increase the cost for the economy class cars, basically.
Yeah. And also, I think, a lot of these technologies features are basically dependent on availability of technology. I'm sure you will see more vehicles with many such technologies as we go along. Yeah, next question from Mr. Ravishankar. With so many initiatives in driver training, vehicle technologies and regulations over the past 20 years, why is India not showing a reduction in fatalities? How is the impact of these initiatives being measured?
Yeah, basically, I mean, definitely, if you see the data of last 3 years, you will find that the number of vehicles which are on the road are increasing. However, in terms of fatalities, the data is coming down. So definitely, these kind of initiatives take some time to show a major landslide data change over a period of time, but definitely improvement is happening. So that the data itself shows that although the number of vehicles are increasing, fatalities are coming down. So with safety features, with education awareness increasing, definitely there is a lot of change. And only thing is that, I mean, the initiative, like I said in my presentation, a lot of work has to be done in terms of education and enforcement. As we go along, we have more focus on that, we do more work in that, definitely that fatalities and accident data will come down.
Yeah, just I will add a little bit to that, maybe, because you rightly mentioned that when the volumes are increasing, still we are almost now the graph is now on the same level.
Right.
Now on the steps particularly on the infrastructure side also, there is a lot of steps are being taken by the government, because see, like the blind turns, there was blind spots and all those. So there is a lot of efforts being done.
Exactly.
But again, the education part of people not wearing seat belts, alarms coming up and all that. This is now one area where significant more impact need to be brought in. Just like I mentioned regarding the corona, the amount of advertisements and all government put in, the enforcement got put in, we could be able to answer. A similar thing, sensitiveness has to be done. Just want to touch on that ABS and CBS, ABC and CBS. Yes, this has become mandatory, and all vehicles are fitted either with one of them, depending on the capacity, whether it is 125cc less or 125cc more. One of them will be always be fitted on the two-wheeler. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. You know, we have few more questions, but we have Mr. Graham Williams join us. So I would suggest we actually go through his presentation, and then, you know, we will again open the forum for questions. So let me briefly introduce Mr. Graham Williams. Mr. Williams is a qualified vehicle engineer who worked at the UK Vehicle and Operator Services Agency for almost 33 years. OSA, known as Driver and Vehicle Services Agency, is the section of UK Department of Transport which is responsible for vehicle inspection and roadside enforcement. Now working as an independent consultant, he is an expert in vehicle inspection schemes and their supporting legislation, with experience of working on inspection regimes with many countries across the globe, including South Asia, Europe, the Middle East, the Far East, Africa, and the Caribbean. He has delivered numerous projects in this field and specializes in the design of vehicle inspection and road transport enforcement regimes. He also owns a company called GB Mode Training Limited, which delivers training to vehicle inspectors in UK and to vehicle inspectors in other countries. Mr. Williams, it's my privilege to actually welcome you to deliver this presentation on inspection and certification to ensure roadworthiness of vehicles. So as you said, you know, there are many regulations that govern what new vehicles can sort of enter the market, but it is important that we all maintain them and maintain them well through the life of the cars, the products. And inspection and maintenance is a very important element. So pleased to hear this presentation. So Mr. Williams, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I've got quite a lot to talk about in relation to the introduction of an inspection and certification regime in India. What I'm going to do, I hope this works. Works, and then I will show you the presentation. Can you see that? Anybody confirm that they can see that?
We still see a blank screen, so I think it's probably taking a bit of a time.
Okay. Nothing yet.
Yes, we could see now.
We can see them.
Oh, good. I was going to say my expertise with Teams perhaps isn't as good. Okay, that's the title. Question is, why does India need an inspection and certification scheme? Well, it won't stop bad driving or people's disregard for the law, but it will reduce the amount of vehicle ignition as a causation factor in road accidents. And it can hit the obvious dangerous items like brakes and steering and tyres and lights. These are the obvious lifesavers if they're not attended to. And what really, these are my recommendations and as such, and I think the inspection scheme needs to be linked to a compulsory, some kind of compulsory registration, for example, the vehicle licensing regime, so that a bit like the PUC, you can't have a license or permit without an inspection certificate. Of course, it needs robust regulations. And one of the great things is you need to make sure that there is an adequate infrastructure to repair vehicles. If they fail an inspection, somebody has to repair them. You should design the scheme. I'd recommend you design the scheme so that passing the inspection is achievable, certainly in the early stages. If too many expensive repairs are needed to pass the inspection, well, too many people won't comply, corruption will breed, and the scheme will basically fall apart. And having done that once, it will be practically impossible to recover it and restart it. So you need to get it right first time. Also, the mandatory inspection of the oldest vehicles also hits the lowest income vehicle owners. So that's something to bear in mind. And a country that starts, certainly a developing country, shouldn't try to achieve European standards straight away. Should concentrate on the obvious, serious defects, which are often the easiest to rectify. It's quite easy to put new tyres on, for example. The standards can be raised as time goes on, as people become more used to it and they're getting more used to maintaining their cars better. Also, the scheme needs a good publicity to educate the public, but also there needs to be an enforcement regime established. That's not just to enforce that people have got their inspection certificates, but that the inspections are being done properly. Now, you must remember that road safety schemes don't come cheap. It will cost the country a lot of money, and the economy shouldn't be damaged. But intelligent thinking can result in a benefit to the economy. Now, I'm talking about global practice now. The World Bank and the ADB recommends a centralized, privatized system. Now, I personally question the wisdom of this, because a centralized system inevitably results in the fewest number of inspection centers possible. This means that many members of the public are going to have to travel a long distance for their inspection. Also, large inspection companies don't necessarily mean good inspections. I've been involved with quite a few of the large inspection companies, and I've seen some really poor inspections by all of the big players. Does it prevent corruption? Well, no one's exempt from corruption. Bribes happen. All the large international inspection companies have suffered from it at some point. Now, if small local companies are allowed to participate, it is good for the economy. Of course, they need to be monitored. Quality enforcement of these places can be done to a great extent by technology. If you have a strong system of test data gathering, even including perhaps CCTV, and also a team of inspection quality enforcement officers to monitor the centres. Now, they could be government officers, but I would recommend they will be a private company given a contract. But of course, they must have the right sort of legal powers to do something with errant stations. The enforcement team would monitor the inspection centres closely and use the data for targeting. So they can use data by simply monitoring the computer system. Penalties for malpractice of the stations, whether they're centralised or decentralised, must be realistic and as severe as necessary. It mustn't be too difficult to remove a centre from the scheme if they're not playing the game or doing it properly. Now, this can be a problem with a large international inspection company that's centralised. If one of their centres was closed down for malpractice, where would the public go for their inspection? They may have to travel a great distance to find another one. Or the larger the organisation, the less teeth the government will have. And it would definitely be difficult to impose the ultimate sanction if it would mean that no vehicles would be inspected. Another common condition set by people at the World Bank is that inspection centres should not be allowed to undertake repairs. Now, that rule is by no means universal. There is a perceived fear, apparently, that testing the inspection centres would fail vehicles unfairly just to generate some income from repairs. Well, quite honestly, this is a myth. There is no evidence for this. This has been generated by large companies that don't do repairs. Another thing you can get with a large centralized system is small businesses tend to set up outside the inspection stations, and they start to crowd out the place. Little guys selling parts or repairs or insurance, and it becomes quite unsavoury. And I've actually seen them where, if they've had these set up, and I remember one in one country where they had these all set up, and a new guy came along to set his stall up, and the others didn't like it. And in the end, they actually beat him to death. And I mean beat him to death on site. It became very unsavoury, and that didn't help anyone. Now, two European countries that operate very successfully without the rule of repairs not being allowed are UK, also Austria and the Netherlands. These have got decentralised systems, and it works very well for the public in these countries. Now, if you think that by allowing them to do repairs would cause fictitious failures to generate repairs, well, let me show you some graphs. Now, these are actual figures from actual stations in the UK. This one I'm showing you here is over 12 months at a Suzuki main dealer in the UK. You can see the graph on the left shows you the blue line is the national average of vehicle age. You can see beneath that, for two inspectors, inspector number 1 and number 3 there, you can see that the age of vehicle that they're doing is substantially beneath the national average age. This is a main dealer, this is what they tend to do. So if you look at the test failed on the right hand side, the national average is up there around 30%, but you can see that also correspondingly their failure rate is well below, as you would expect. So there's no evidence there of generating income. Bear in mind that this is a Suzuki main dealer. They don't need to generate income by failures. These people have got sales, they've got repairs, they've got services. They don't need to do that, because all they would do is alienate their customers and make themselves very unpopular. And look at another one. This is 12 months at a general motor repairer, so these are not dealers in the UK, and the average age of vehicle that they're testing is very close to the national average vehicle age. So you can see there on the left, national average is in blue, the inspector is testing it and he's very close to it. Look at his failure rate on the right hand side, and it corresponds month by month pretty well to the national average. Again, this is a small guy working on his own. A sole inspector. He's not trying to generate any income from repairs. Or another one, this is again a general repairer, and they're repairing vehicles which the average age of the average age of the vehicle inspect is above the national average. So correspondingly, the test that they fail is a little above the national average. So, and that's just 3 that I picked at random, and there is no evidence there to show high levels of failure, which would suggest try and generate income from repairs. Now, what has to be monitored is whether there are too many passes as a result of corruption. Now, this can occur whether the centre is allowed to undertake repairs or not. Go back to the one in I said where the guy got beaten up and killed. All these little places that open outside the station, these guys got together, and what they do happens in a lot of places. They pay the inspectors of that centralised testing station to fail vehicles. Now, of course, the inspection station doesn't do repairs, or they're failing them, so the guys outside can pick up repairs. Now, the bribes have been paid to these inspectors way off site, so it's very, very hard to detect. That is a greater risk. So I'm afraid because it's centralised, it does not, and can't do repairs, it does not reduce the risk of people generating income from repairs. Now let's just look at UK. They've got over 23,000 inspection stations. They're independent. Almost all are individual private companies. They've got a few large groups, and a very small number are municipal councils. But almost all of them, virtually all of them, undertake repairs. There's around 56,000 inspectors. And in 2020, 31 million inspections were completed. This system has worked successfully since 1960. There is no problem for it. It's a semi-automated inspection. You can see that's an example where it's an inspection bay set up in a garage, repair garage. All inspections are done using an IT system, which is pretty sophisticated. So the inspector can do nothing without it all being recorded on the system, and the system can see what he's doing. It monitors all the activity, and it's used to target enforcement activity. Then they have a fair and open disciplinary regime based on a point system. They have different enforcement methods. They can do spot checks. They can re-examine a vehicle that's just had its inspection. They can have formal observation of an inspection. Mystery shopper check, where they do a covert observation of an inspection. They analyze data from the IT system, or they can do surveillance of a station. And there are other ways as well, but these are examples. And of course, when the shortcoming is found with the inspections or the scheme, they will take action. And that's according to circumstances. It could be, if it's only minor, it could be advice or counselling or a bit of a warning. If it's more serious or repeated minor, then it's formal disciplinary action. And that could be things like from a formal advisory letter to a formal warning, or maybe suspending an inspector's approval or for a short period, or maybe taking away altogether for the inspector and or the station. They would do this for fraud, dishonesty, or gross negligence. Perhaps an inspector issues a certificate without even inspecting the vehicle. They accept a bribe, or if the inspection time taken is too short to allow a full inspection to be carried out. Say it only takes 2 minutes, and everybody knows it should take much longer than that. The system would see that and throw it up, and you could just take action against him without even having to see him. If an inspection is carried out by someone that's not properly authorised, if it's carried out on a vehicle that you're not authorised to inspect, for example, if it's done on a car when that station is only authorised to inspect 2-wheelers, or maybe they issue a certificate to a vehicle that the station is offering for sale, perhaps. Assault on the presenters and enforcement staff, involvement in things like bypassing emission control, loss of good repute, breaches of IT security, false statements made, or perhaps an inspection is registered on the IT system and yet the inspector or maybe the vehicle isn't present. All these things can be seen very easily and they can take action on. And when it comes to the vehicles, if there is a poor inspection protocol used by the inspector, withdraw his authorization, or incorrect inspection standards applied by the inspector, or if a customer appeals and that appeal has been upheld because the inspector has done it wrong. These are things to withdraw his authorization. So these were unique teeth to do it. Staff recruitment and training. Well, the government should set the training standards. They should vet the training staff and monitor the quality of the delivery. Now, they may use a third party to help them do that, of course. Centralised stations would need a major recruitment campaign. International inspection companies would train their own staff without government involvement, so they tend to do it on their own. The government don't get involved, or not able to get in. Decentralised stations, in almost all cases, have already got the staff there. They don't have to start recruiting. And they could be trained by a contractor. And then the stations would pay for that training either to the government or the contractor direct. Now, if a vehicle owner, they take their vehicle for inspection, if it's a centralised station, he's going to wait in a queue while it's inspected. But in some cases, he may be able to leave at the centre for the day or wait while it's inspected. Normally, a large inspection company doesn't give that option. They just have to wait in a queue. If it fails, then the owner's got 3 options. Take it away and repair it, take it away and have it repaired by another workshop, or leave it with the inspection centre for them to repair it. take it away and repair it, okay, and take it away and have it repaired by another workshop. These are the only options if the inspection station is permitted to do repairs. But to leave it with the inspection centre for them to repair it, this helps the owner who's happy with the quality of the inspection centre and trust them, and cannot or doesn't have the spare time to travel to and fro for re-inspections. This is very convenient and very popular to have a one-stop shop. With options 1 and 2, we're going to take it away. The owner has to spend more time going to and from the station for waiting for inspections. It costs them time and money, and therefore the economy takes more of a hit with this system. Option 3 saves a great deal of customers' time and money, and therefore it costs the economy the least. And it is definitely the most popular and most acceptable to the public. How do you pay for it? The whole scheme, I already said it's expensive. Well, the government charges a levy on every inspection. This levy pays for the whole scheme. It pays for the quality enforcement team. They would monitor the inspection centres closely and use data for targeting. As I've already said, penalties for malpractice must be realistic and as severe as necessary. It must not be too difficult to remove a centre from the scheme. The effects on the economy, well, with a centralised system, this will take staff from the repair industry, which you already don't know what the repair industry infrastructure is. It will damage the infrastructure and adds to the cost for the public and therefore the economy. Another thing to bear in mind with international inspection companies, the profits, I'm afraid, will go outside of India. And people having to make extra journeys to and fro for re-inspections does add to the pollution as well as the cost. With a centralised system, there's a massive investment for the company. That's costly for them to recover, so the inspection fees may be high. And if the public has to pay it, more working time lost for the public having to go and for inspections and rechecks. Fewer stations means more queuing and waiting time for customers, and time's money. If they don't like how they've been served, looked after at a particular station, with a centralised system, they don't have a choice to go anywhere else. With a decentralised system, yes, the profits stay at home. It supports the local economy and probably develops it. Time is saved for the public. More stations mean more flexibility, more choice for the public, less waiting time, and certainly when you can leave the vehicle with them. Investment costs are lower, so fees can be set low for the public. Usually, a private garage that's maybe already there can maybe just use part of its workshop to set up an inspection bay, or maybe put a little extension on. It's easier for them. Local business will develop. The investment can be small and much more manageable for those local companies. Now, you can choose to put a limit on the number of stations in an area, but I don't actually see a real advantage with this policy. The enforcement costs can be met by the scheme. You could also charge a monthly or an annual license fee to the station. And that would cover the cost of checking the station in the first place to see that it meets the conditions and it's fit to be authorised. Large international inspection companies win contracts because they provide the investment and the BOT, which is a build, operate, transfer. This seems very attractive for a government. It's convenient, it's easy, and no capital investment for them. But in the long term, is this the best way? Another way is smaller companies and organisations to be involved. Remember, the public do tend to trust their local garage. How soon could you set it up? A centralised system takes a long time. The contract letting period would be at least the very minimum 2 years. There would be difficulty in identifying and procuring sites. Looking at the large sites, particularly to acquire, particularly in the large metros, would be difficult. It would be a lengthy job to manage construction on such a wide scale, and they would need time to recruit and train staff. So it takes a long time. The decentralised system is much quicker. They don't have the lengthy contract procedures. You set, as the government, a set of conditions that they have to meet to be authorised. And it's open to anybody who can meet the conditions. Local sites can always react a lot quicker to that set of requirements. Buildings are usually already in place, maybe a few modifications to meet the requirements. The staff are almost always there. Some of the individual premises have to be vetted, yes, but I've said there will be a charge for this. And the first stations, quite frankly, could be operating within as little as 9 months. I think 12 months is probably more realistic, but certainly it's not impossible for 9 months. And in the time that you're doing this, you establish your IT system. The quality enforcement structure can be established, whether that's from the government or, as I suggest, third-party contractor. You could even try a hybrid scheme. Let the big companies own centres, as well as the smaller companies. But the big companies tend to want an exclusive contract, which is anti-competition. You can try and see which works best. But I do know what's worked best, certainly in some European countries. I have experience with both systems. I've even worked with both systems. Centralised privatised system is not the panacea that some people say. It has flaws. Decentralised privatised system benefits the economy most, and it's the quickest to set up. I believe inspection centres should be permitted to undertake the repairs, because this way the public and the economy benefits. If not, it is a definite disbenefit. A robust system of enforcement must be set up with strong powers of sanction, and that's whether you do it centralised or decentralised. And a strong data gathering system is key. Okay, yeah, I've gone through a lot of information there, and I've done it very quickly. What I'm going to do now, if I get back, no, I'm on my back. Open.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yeah, but just one thing I would add briefly to that is, if anybody from the government, the industry, wants to engage me further on this subject, of course, they can do that through the organisers. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that comprehensive presentation. We could clearly see a lot of experience has gone into actually being able to mention or so clearly summarize the benefits of two approaches to this system, and also great amount of insights in how the systems actually work. Thanks a lot for that presentation. We in India, I see inspection and certification is a big area of focus, as we have been talking about it, and many centers are coming up, and I think it will become a area of a bigger focus as we go ahead. So thanks a lot. So Mr. Williams, just to brief you, as you had joined a little later, before you, we had Dr. Reggie Mathai talk about automotive technologies and regulations. We had Mr. Gaurav Gandhi talk about a comprehensive view on vehicle safety. And then we had you speak about the overall inspection regime to maintain roadworthiness of the vehicles. So now I would like we spend some time on the questions. There are few questions from the audience, but before that, I would like to start with one question to you, Mr. William. What has been the response from the users? Do they actually see benefit in getting their vehicles inspected and repaired to meet the requirements? Because that, I'm sure, might actually be improving the durability and usability of their own vehicles. So typically across the countries, how has the user responded to this inspection regime?
It's slow. They don't see the benefits quickly. It does take some time. But perhaps a year later, they start to see benefit. They do start to see some benefits. And I think everybody would accept that, yes, it will help things. And some people go into it grudgingly. They think, well, I've got to have this done. And I realise it helps. But as long as it's not a huge leap, it's acceptable more. And people do, certainly within a couple of years or so, and by that time you can sort of ramp up the standards of the inspection. Certainly by then, people do see the benefits. And it also, this is a total byproduct of this, and I'm saying this simply because it happens. Some people do, it does tend to raise the age of the national fleet of vehicles, because some people think this thing's just costing me too much money to get through this inspection each time. I need to get something newer. So that in itself benefits the motor industry, I suppose, in a country. But people, it takes a little while. Yes, people do understand it and accept it.
Yeah, thank you for that. We'll go back to some of the questions that have been asked by the audience. I'll pick up the next question in the line. That was, there's a lot of discussion regarding driver training. However, accidents are not happening just because of drivers. Many times it is also due to pedestrians. Is something being done to educate how and when to cross the road? Secondly, we do not hear much about lane change discipline. So, Mr. Gandhi, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, basically right now our focus has been on driver training only, and pedestrian education per se right now is not in the radar. But definitely in times to come we can also look at it. And coming to lane change, I think lane change topic is definitely covered in our driver training. And whenever we are educating drivers through our various models that we had showcased, so definitely lane change is a subject that we touch upon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The next question is from Ms. Kirat. Thank you for such informative webinar. I want to know that do we have AIS regulations related to electronic stability control, both for two-wheelers and cars, and regulation related to autonomous emergency braking system? If yes, which are these, and if not, what is being done? Dr. Mathai, would you like to?
Yeah, we are still to adopt the ESC related activities. Still, we are a little far away on that. But the AEBS, yes, there is deliberations on in the AIC panel. So certain aspect of it, I think the frontal collision aspect that we are now deliberating may not be the full one. So this is work in progress, I can say.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mathai. Yeah, next question is from Mr. Ravi Shankar R. Interesting points by Mr. Graham. Are the observations and experience presented also applicable for the inspection of commercial vehicles and trucks? And any specific points for CV inspection that we can learn from your experience?
Okay, with the commercial vehicles and trucks, I think you have to look at that in a slightly different way. That is the one thing that we're a limited number of stations. Now, they don't have to be centralized, but a limited number of stations for inspection. And you do need to incorporate some rules, particularly about you shouldn't allow people who actually operate vehicles themselves to open an inspection station, because then there is a great danger in passing vehicles which should fail, because of course there could be a great deal of money at stake for them to do that, and that's their incentive. And they would need an awful lot more monitoring. So it could work fine, in the same way, and it does that in one country that does that for commercial vehicles is the Republic of Ireland, and it does work well. But as I said, it is a sensible condition not to allow fleet operators to do inspection themselves. But the decentralized system, everything else works just the same.
Yeah, thank you, William. So the next question is again to you from Mr. Subhash Dungal. What are the basic minimum checklist of vehicle inspections? And actually, I want to add a bit to this. without waiting for a government rule, as car users or commercial vehicle users, would you advise a minimum checklist that we get it done voluntarily to make sure our vehicles remain roadworthy and extend life?
A minimum checklist for the periodic inspection, or a minimum checklist for people to use in every day.
Sorry, I think we lost you for a minute. If you could repeat.
Yes. Do you mean a checklist that the inspection station would use, or people to use it for their own purposes?
Yeah. Can you also explain some of the minimum checks that are typically done as part of vehicle inspection?
Okay. Well, if you look in European standards, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of checks. For example, tires, just tires, simple tires. There are so many checks, as well as the amount of tread wear and damage and cuts and other cords exposed. There are things like, if it's an asymmetric tire, is it fitted the right way wrong or wrong way around? Is there a correct mixture of radials and cross-ply tires? If it's the vehicle is a passenger vehicle, it mustn't have tires more than 10 years old, which that's just one example. You could look at other things like an engine emissions warning light. That is eliminated. That was fair in inspection. So trying to pick on some things there, which because there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. What I suggest is, if you took tires, if you just went for the simple things, the tire's not in a dangerous condition, that it's not bald, that the cords aren't showing anywhere, and it's not badly cut. Those are the three major causes of accidents. And if you got those first, then later on you could start to look at tire sizes and markings and things like that. So it's, I would take, if I went through all the test standards now in Europe, it would take me several hours, which I'm not going to do. I'm simply saying that would be from a baseline of no inspections at all. If people took their vehicle into European standards straight away, unless it was new, they would have a huge list of items that it's failed on. So it's not workable. That's why I do say, I really believe this, that you should go for the simplest things first. Now, what I've seen large inspection companies doing, they've gone for the full European standards from the start, but they've only attached failures to certain items. So they might record that the tyres are more than 10 years old. They might record that the engine warning light's on, but they won't actually fail it for it. They will only fail it if the tyre is bald. So I couldn't answer too accurately.
Yeah, thank you. The next question, I think Mr. Gandhi and Dr. Mathai, one of you could respond is, is there any data being collected on crashes caused by drivers and correlate with what happened on the test tracks when the driver testing happened?
Means the question is what
Yeah. So question is, is there any data being collected on crashes caused by drivers who went through various test tracks during, I think, licensing versus who didn't go through such test tracks? So is there any data correlating between accidents and the kind of testing they went through during license? I think that's the question.
Yeah, such data we have never collected, means we don't have any data on such things where the licensing part is being done. So I can't comment on that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those were sort of the questions from the audience. I would like to, get back to all the three authors with one final question in terms of from a comprehensive safety. Let me start with Mr. Gandhi. You had put out all the 5 elements and the priorities, and you had actually summarized where we all need as a focus. But so if I were to get back to you, can you please identify 1 or 2 things that we as road users, all the participants in this seminar, should be careful of, should be mindful of when we get back on the road next time? And also priority areas for improving road safety.
See, I think we as road users, like I said in my presentation also, that education and enforcement are the key areas where definitely we can have a lot of contribution. Like, for example, sometimes we are very well educated on, using the safety features of our cars, and we are very well educated in terms of traffic rules, but we tend to kind of, violate them whenever it is convenient for us. So, I mean, at our level, within our families, within our friends, we should definitely, to our children, of course, we should definitely spread that kind of awareness that we must adhere to the traffic rules. We must use all the safety measures which are there in the car. And even like one of the questions was there for pedestrians, while we are crossing the roads also, the road safety must be considered as a prime important parameter. So like if you go to developed countries in Japan, if you see over there, even small kids who are 5-6 years old, they will never cross the road just like that. There are red signals at some junctions. Even if there are no red signals for pedestrians, they will take all the required safety measures before crossing the road. So that kind of culture has to be imbibed in our society definitely, and that will greatly help. Of course, on a corporate level, in a focused way, in a structured manner, we can do a lot of things that we should do. But personal level, we can also contribute in these elements. That is my take on this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gandhi. Mr. Mathai, maybe it will be good if you can highlight few areas that will sort of be the focus areas for the country as we go forward.
Okay, I think the safety aspects when it comes to regulatory requirement, the more we shift towards automation or automated responses is what can reduce the impact in a big way. So the steps needs to be taken on that, and we are slowly moving to that. And as I mentioned, the infrastructure requirements are little constraints, but wherever we can move to these adaptive driver assist systems, we should start implementing that. This minimum safety regulations are in place, so we are not worried much about it. But right. There are now statements being made and being told like, why only the minimum sort of a thing? Is it because the global standards are moving ahead and still we are just waiting, and we are waiting for some regulatory requirements to come in. So there is a challenge in that, and like the crash ratings and all, can we have something like the global NCAP and all that? So these deliberations are also going on, which I believe can be implemented much faster and will give a lot of assurance to the customers in a big way. So I think that these are the steps that we need to first take. If we can provide something like a global NCAP rating, so the vehicular aspects is taken care. More automation coming in through ADAS related activities, that can also be another step that we can embrace very fast.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Williams, one question is about what kind of provisions or actions do we need in a sort of government policy framework to be able to accelerate the inspection regime?
I would say to accelerate it is firstly they must involve the present industry in India, and I would also say do not alienate them because that would be counterproductive, and it would also be against the economy. But if they get the work with the industry, and by that I'm saying get them involved in inspections, let them have inspection centres. That will be a great step to get the public on side. Then the public will recognise the value of road safety. If they will not see that the same, if it's a company from Europe that's suddenly setting up these inspection centres that they've got to go to every 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years, whatever, that really looks like an imposition. But if the industry is involved, if they're doing the inspections, the government, so the public will see that as a partnership working with the industry to help them to improve road safety, much more than an imposition, and you will find a much greater level of cooperation. And as Mr. Gandhi said, taking on that culture of road safety, it would be a far better way of doing it. And as I've already said and explained in my presentation, it would be done much more quickly.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I think with that, we're close to the time 6:30, and it's been a great afternoon with very good presentations and also very insightful answers from all the authors. So Dr. Gangopadhyay, I would like to hand over the session back to you for you to take, put in the closing remarks.
I would not have any closing remarks as such, because many things have been told, and it is so interesting that how the vehicle technologies and the related aspects play a significant role for the road safety. Because traditionally civil engineers or the highway engineers may not be aware of because this session was particularly meant for the profession which is dominated by the highway engineers and the traffic safety experts who are responsible for the design of the highways, but sometimes very little is known about the vehicle technology. And another aspect is of course the IT, intelligent transport system, because that is also related with the vehicle technology at some point of time, because if you combine both, plays a significant. Now, with that, I think I must thank all the speakers for taking out their time. Really, it was wonderful to have all of you on a Friday afternoon or early evening. Sorry for taking your time on the eve of the weekend, and I would like to tell all of you, inform all of you that our next webinar, that is the 9th in the series, which I think Mr. Gaurav has also touched upon some of the works that Maruti is doing on education. That is very, very important. Sometimes people don't know what is education that you can do on road safety aspects. Very little is known, very little is understood, but then it is a self-example that you have to create. Sometimes we say that, okay, I have found during my service that going to office in a very, metropolitan city, you come across many red lights, signals. A city like Delhi, I sometimes counted one day that I have piloted 70% of the time the signals while coming to office because I was in hurry. So therefore, these are certain things which, at some point of time, someone mentioned the personally must contribute also, rather than going for any highly test of the company and such. So, gentlemen and ladies, this will be the webinar, 9th webinar on September the 22nd, and that we have 4 topics listed on it. So I would encourage all of you kindly join. and make this also a successful one, like what we had today and the previous 7 webinars. And with that, with the permission of the moderator and all of our participants and speakers, and let us also give a very big hand to our IT team, because IT team has worked very hard for this webinars. They are doing a really wonderful job, and other colleagues for arranging this. And with that, let me also close this session with again sending my greetings and thanking you all. Have a good weekend. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.